If you're buying or selling in Tehaleh, there's someone whose opinion can protect your equity or cost you dearly. Today, I'm talking with a trusted local home inspector who helps my clients make smarter decisions. Welcome to the Living in Tehaleh podcast. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Cahill. I'm a licensed managing broker with eXp Realty. My wife Lisa and I live right here in Tehaleh, and I help homeowners and buyers make smart, well-informed real estate decisions in this wonderful community. A big part of my job is surrounding my clients with the right local experts so they can protect their equity and avoid costly surprises. If you're considering a move here or just want to understand the market better, you'll find my contact information in the description below. I'm always happy to be a resource. My guest today is Michael Haynes with Creekside Home Inspection Services. Michael, welcome to the Living in Tehaleh podcast.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time today.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm excited to have you on and just to pick your brain a little bit and have our viewers benefit from the combination of our experiences. Why don't you give everyone a little bit of your background?
My name is Michael Haynes. I'm the owner of Creekside Home Inspection. Born and raised in Washington. We're currently located in Sumner, Washington, just about 5-6 miles away from you in Tehaleh. And again, owner of Creekside Home Inspection. We absolutely love what we do. We're a home service business. Formerly spent limited time as a general contractor, as well as just running through the rat race there for the last about 30 years. Most recently, a purchasing manager with a food company. And so we decided to get out of that and get into some hands-on stuff.
You know, it's so interesting. It's been a while since I go into this, but my wife, Lisa, who is a real estate agent, she was raised in a family that owned a restaurant.
Okay.
And so she worked her way through college, got her accounting degree by waiting tables. I waited tables through college and then into my young adulthood right before I became a real estate agent. And I love to joke that I have made a really successful transition from food to shelter.
Mm-hmm. For two necessities of life. So I think we're doing all right. We're covering them all.
Yes. So I think it's fantastic that you have this background experience as someone who was a general contractor. You know, it's interesting, the licensing requirements for someone who's a general contractor are not necessarily the same as the licensing and education requirements for someone who is a home inspector. Why don't you speak on that for a minute?
Yeah, no, I was actually quite surprised as the general contractor requirements are not nearly as robust. As a certified home inspector with the state of Washington, I've been through 120 hours of classroom time. I've spent 40 hours in the field with a certified master inspector. I completed 5 inspection reports in advance of receiving my certificate. All of that needed to be submitted to the state of Washington to approve my quality of work and my understanding of home inspection before they would issue me my license. From the general contractor standpoint, so long as you show financial security and financial coverage with the necessary insurances, anyone can be a general contractor.
And so a general contractor, while I've hired dozens of general contractors, I mean, I value them and they are necessary for a lot of the work that goes on to either build a home from scratch or to improve a home. Someone who is a general contractor is not necessarily going to be a substitute for someone who is a licensed home inspector.
Oh, I would certainly say not. Washington State has the Washington State Standards of Practice for Home Inspectors, and they detail out every point of inspection in a residential facility that needs to be touched by the inspector. From the crawl space all the way to the attic, you have your roof, the entire exterior. There are points of inspection. Having a general understanding of construction is incredibly valuable, and that is something that we bring to the table at Creekside. But understanding that can go outside of a scope. And really knowing some of the evolving requirements, even just through the continuing education. If we want to talk about differences between some general contractor and home inspector, continuing education requirements for home inspectors is 24 hours every 2 years. And so we do have to stay with those ever evolving standards. That is, again, general contractors an incredible profession, lots of knowledge base there, but having an understanding of really what the standards of practice through the state of Washington call for. Me being a father of two kids, really what I'm looking through is safety. My lens is safety, and I want to make sure that the house is safe. And you may not get the same experience from a general contractor, maybe just looking at some structural integrity.
As a real estate broker, and I've been a broker since 1999, began my career in Cleveland, Ohio, and then ran real estate brokerages across Florida for 15 years. Then got my real estate broker license as a designated managing broker here in Washington in 2020. I've seen, I don't know if it's over 1,000, but it's got to be close to over 1,000 home inspections. And the thing that scares me on behalf of my client is when the buyer either brings dad with the screwdriver and the flashlight, or says, we went and watched a video about what to do, and we're just going to save our money and just do this home inspection ourselves. I really do everything I can to just advise them, look, it's such a big purchase. Spend the money that you need to spend to get a competent professional who can do a thorough job and who's going to stand behind their inspection report. The peace of mind is well worth the investment.
It's one of the best insurance policies that somebody could buy is a home inspection. And if you want to talk about the cost associated with it, doing a little bit of research, the average cost of a home in the state of Washington as a whole is just under $600,000. And without getting into pricing specifics, the average cost of a good inspection by a qualified inspector is going to be less than half of 0.1% of that value. So just to give listeners an idea, if you're purchasing something used for $1,000 and you want a professional to take a look at it at that same rate, it's going to cost you between 50 cents and $1 to cover that $1,000 purchase by somebody who has a firm understanding of exactly what you're buying. You don't know what you don't know. None of us do. And getting that second set of eyes that doesn't have an emotional connection to the process that you're going through is so critical.
I agree. In the Tehaleh community specifically, in the last 12 months, there have been about 450 resale home sales. And there have been probably close to about that number of new home construction sales. So, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 900 or so transactions. And I think that a lot of people think, oh, we're buying it from a builder. The builder has a 1-year warranty. We don't really need to worry about it. But I think that could be just a huge, expensive mistake.
Indeed. And time flies, doesn't it? 1-year warranties, they go back like that. I mean, here we are, we're almost to Christmas. It feels like Christmas last year. 1-year warranties go by so quickly. A home inspector can help highlight some of those focuses and make sure that when you are contacting the builder with some 1-year warranty expectations, you're highlighting those tangible, very legitimate requests that do need to be handled and aren't necessarily what I just look at as some homeowner responsibilities. A new build doesn't mean a perfect build. Even just an example of how we're building homes these days, we're building them very, very tight. If you look 100 years ago, a lot of open air, cracks in doorways, cracks around windows, the air changes per hour were possible there. But now we're tightening and closing up our houses so much that, you look at maybe some moisture issues, some humidity issues and whatnot. If you also look at that, I know everybody's been driving around. We are in Washington State. You see homes that are built with, at the end of the day, wet wood. And the OSB is wet. And the roof trusses are wet. And then they close it all up in there. So there is some concern there as well. Understanding that new build, great, fantastic. But what we call those are blue tape inspections. And we're just going to look a little bit closer, because if you're paying an average home cost in the state of Washington for a new build, at Creekside, we are going to make sure that you're getting the value for your money. This is a serious undertaking. It is an incredible investment for people. And if you're at the age I am, or even a little bit younger than me, it can be a very scary thing. New build, old build, 200-year-old home, whatever it may be, that peace of mind is invaluable.
To me, it is just a smart way of having the complete path from looking for a home to being the owner of your new home, to have it go as smoothly and as seamlessly as possible with minimal surprises.
Right. Yeah.
Just learning about the condition of a home doesn't mean necessarily that you're not going to buy the home. It simply means that your eyes are wide open now that you're really, really in the home and really taking a close look. Whether you walk into an open house or if you're out touring homes with your real estate agent, you're not crawling under the crawl space. You're not climbing up and into the attic. And even though everything might look fantastic, you're not opening up the electrical panel necessarily. You're not really getting a sense of the condition of the heating and cooling systems. So to me, it's just mission critical that someone who is buying a home has a proper home inspection. And then also, and I know we've talked about this many times in the past, I think it's really important for somebody who's selling a home to have a pre-sale home inspection just so that they can make some smart upgrades or repairs or just touching up on something before they put their home out to the market.
Indeed. And can't that set a buyer apart, or excuse me, a seller apart?
Yeah.
Especially nowadays when we're in December and houses aren't moving as quickly as they do maybe in March, April, those months. That really sets you apart and shows that you're not trying to trick anybody. And I don't believe many people have malicious intent. But just going that extra mile and saying, we understand what's going on with our home, because at the end of the day, inspections are not meant to be scary. They're meant to be educational, and providing that value as a seller to a buyer in advance. I have an inspection this Sunday, and we were actually able to get our hands on the inspection report that the seller did before they put the house on the market. For me, for the real estate agent, and for the buyer of that property, that is invaluable. It's just absolutely invaluable. You now have, within 90 days of each other, you have a seller's inspection, you have a buyer's inspection. You're not going to be surprised by what happens with this house. Now, days change things. Nobody knows what the future brings, but understanding the current condition, you can be incredibly confident in that purchase.
It's so interesting to me, all these home inspections that I've witnessed, a lot of times it really is just so the buyer is aware of when they should be considering replacing something. Hey, you're doing fine. There are no issues with the roof or with the HVAC system. However, the water heater is getting close to its expected life usage. And so you need to just simply budget to replace that. It might be a couple of years from now. You might let it go until it just conks out. However, you don't want to be surprised if in 2 or 3 years you're needing to replace whatever it might be. And I think that that's really helpful for a lot of buyers, just to have a really good sense, like, we love the home, it's in the right school district, it's where we want it to be, it's backing onto a green belt. We don't want to have to go out and try to find another home just because the air conditioning system is, already 12 years old. But we need to know that, hey, in a few years, it might conk out, and we need to be ready to budget to replace that thing.
And it also might not be as scary as you think. Some of these air conditioners can go 20, 25 years. And so if we're looking at it and you have a 12-year-old air conditioner, well, what does the maintenance look like? What does the current condition of the components look like? And a qualified inspector is going to be able to tell you that. And they are going to, and I have those notes in my report, that budget for replacement. Nearing the end of its expected service life, let's budget for replacement. Because owning a home does not stop when you sign the paperwork and with that monthly payment going out the door. It is a job. I call it being a professional homeowner. And part of that is understanding the components of your home. A water heater is a perfect one. That is a component of your home, that it is a requirement for your current lifestyle. And so you're also purchasing the water heater. Is your fridge going to go out? Because you're buying that too. So touching everything in the house. It's not 4 walls and a roof. There's much more to that.
Quick pause here for a message from our sponsor, me. If you're thinking about buying or selling in Tehaleh and want guidance from someone who lives here, who knows this community, and knows the local professionals who can make your move smooth and easy, You can call or text me at 253-648-0100. My contact information is also in the description below. Now let's get back to the conversation. It's interesting. In the past 6 weeks, with the rains and the windstorms that have gone through this area, Tehaleh has been without power 2 different occasions, once in October and then just earlier this week. And so some people have a generator. Other people have a little gas-powered generator that they bring out, and they have it out in the driveway, and they have extension cords running to it. There are a lot of different things that go into enjoying the lifestyle that we enjoy in this day and age.
And isn't that why you're buying a house? I mean, expectations can be dangerous, but that's what we purchase houses with the expectation. I bought my house with my wife, who I had just married 12 months previous. She was pregnant with our first, knowing that we're going to have another one in a few years. That is the daydream. That's the American dream. That's why we're all buying houses, is not because it's incredibly stressful. No one would do it if there wasn't a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But the pride in owning your house and maintaining your home and potentially passing that along within your families is just, it's an incredible feeling.
It's so great. I remember as a younger real estate agent, I got my real estate license, as I mentioned, in Cleveland, Ohio in 1999. And I remember distinctly in September of 2001, the horrific attacks across America on 9/11. And I was watching the evening news, safe in my home in Cleveland, and just realizing that all of these people crossing the George Washington Bridge or the Brooklyn Bridge, they just wanted to go home. And what an honor it was and still is for me that I help people find that place where they're going to create those memories, where they're going to look forward to going at the end of a busy day, where they're going to celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah, New Year's, Thanksgiving, the 4th of July. This is where they're going to be creating those memories. And as a real estate agent and as a home inspector, I know that we take it very seriously, that we want to help people have as smooth of an experience as possible getting into that new home or exiting that home and transitioning to that next chapter.
Oh, absolutely. Isn't the saying, the home is where the heart is? That to be able to go home with someone and to help them feel that peace and that deep breath when they walk through the door, and know that this isn't a place of stress. This isn't a place of concern. This is a place of love and relaxation. It is powerful. Home is a powerful word. It really is. And we're in a powerful position to help people really achieve what that means.
We bought a home. Lisa and I bought a home in 2020 in Lacey, which is just outside of Olympia.
Yep.
And it was very close to railroad tracks. And we didn't realize how close it was to the railroad tracks. And so that wasn't the best experience for us. We ended up selling that home about 7 months after we bought it. We were heading back to Florida for the winter anyway. And so we thought, well, let's just go ahead and sell this home. It was honestly one of our favorite floor plans and designs of a home. We absolutely loved how the home laid out, but it was just too close to these railroad tracks for our peace of mind. And when the buyers bought the home, it was still under warranty. And we had a home inspection. It was a brand new home. Everything was fine when we bought it. But a mere 6 months later, the buyer's home inspection revealed that there was mold in the crawl space between the insulation and the subfloor.
Okay.
How could we have known? We didn't know that.
You wouldn't?
No. And thankfully, the builder absolutely covered the mitigation and replaced all the insulation under there, and everything went fine. But it just really struck us, even with a 6-month-old home, there can already be some serious issues. And we were very thankful that our buyers were smart and had a great home inspection performed. We knew we took great care of the home, but How could we have known that? We didn't know that. So as you said earlier, it's not that people are trying to hide anything, and people don't necessarily have any malicious intent to cover up anything, but a brand new home or a 6-month old home could actually have some real issues already.
Yeah, and that's, as we talked before. You don't expect to hear that when you purchase a new home or you go to sell a new home 6 months later, but it isn't all that uncommon. I think we apply the word new to something and expect it to be pristine and we expect it to be perfect, and that just isn't the reality of the situation. We talked about how tightly we're building homes. We talked about building materials being wet when they're put away, and insulation just traps that moisture. Interesting thing about mold is it doesn't go away with time. It doesn't go away because it gets cold or anything like that. They found mold spores in the ice in Antarctica. It is just a prevalent thing. And here we are in the Pacific Northwest. I know everybody, we're here in about middle of December and we've seen some incredible atmospheric rivers come over our state 2 in a row. It's a prevalent thing here in our state. And you've highlighted it so perfectly, even back in Cleveland. But here in Washington, having that second set of eyes, even if dad crawled under there with a flashlight and a screwdriver, even if making sure that a home inspector who really cares about what he does and the business that he has takes that second look. It's not about just the inspection with us. It's also about our business. We take such pride in doing a good job for our clients.
My wife, Lisa, in addition to being a CPA, in addition to being a real estate agent, and just a really wonderful person in my life, she is a meticulous homemaker. Our home looks like we could put it on the market any day of the week. It always looks show ready. It always looks great. She loves to go to, furniture stores and design stores and just get ideas. And then she goes to Marshall's and copies the ideas on the cheap.
I love it. I love it.
But what my point is that it's interesting that a perfectly maintained home can still have issues that a buyer just might not find on their own, which is why I think it's so important that anybody buying a home really goes to the effort of having a proper home inspection performed. I couldn't say it enough.
Well, and conversely, a quote lived in home doesn't mean that this is a scary home.
No.
It just means that it's lived in. Believe me, my home is lived in. I got 2 kids. My home is lived in. That doesn't mean it isn't a smart purchase, and that doesn't mean it isn't somebody's castle. Everybody's castle is different, and we're very sensitive to that. And those pristine homes and anything on the surface level, as I said, the inspections are meant to be educational. And when those buyers come and they do the inspection with me, whether it be an hour or 2 hours, or you want to stay for the entire thing, it's a great tour of your new home. And that's a great just one-on-one look. I'm going to put this in a report and we're going to talk about it. I'd certainly focus my efforts over here over the first 6 months of you living in this property. And as we've talked before, at Creekside, we stay available for our clients, and we want to make sure if there's anything across an inspection report that needs to be touched on again, phone calls and emails are always acceptable, and we do Zoom calls with our clients as well. We can share a screen and look at the exact notes in the exact area of the home to really drill down on that. Again, we're trying to educate our clients. We're not trying to scare anybody, and we want to stay available. That really is what sets an inspector apart, and I can understand perhaps people skipping those basic inspections. But when you have an inspection company that wants to do a good job and wants those follow-up visits with you, it's money well spent every time.
One of the reasons why I like you so much is that you really understand the value of service after the sale. That is to say, you've had the home inspection's been completed, the buyer or the seller in a pre-sale inspection report scenario has received the report. But then 2 or 3 days later, they have questions, and I know that you'll answer the phone, you'll respond to the email, you'll jump on a Zoom call to help those people understand what it is that they're really wondering about inside their inspection report.
Absolutely. I bring back to the example of an inspection I have this Sunday. The buyers are leaving Monday morning to spend Christmas time with their family in another state. I will have an inspection completed that morning. It'll be in their inbox that afternoon. Now, Christmas is coming. I can't be surprised if in 2 weeks from now I get a phone call from these folks saying, hey, we've finally been able to digest this report very well, and we have a few questions. We've been busy. Could we set up a Zoom call? Absolutely. You can call me 3 months later if you'd like to. The service is the service, but the report is the report. And we're building a report and we're providing that to our clients. That's not where the service stops, though.
One of the things I wanted to talk about with you is, those items that might be outside of a home inspector's skill set or competence. Where might there be some areas in a home purchase where you're going to advise a buyer to seek somebody else's opinion on that facet of the home?
So much of that relates to safety, and we're going to start immediately with the foundation. The foundation is, of course, the foundation of the home. It's the base of the home, and that's really where we're going to see some problems that are going to, as an inspector, give me a little bit of pause about whether I would personally purchase this property. Now, that doesn't mean that I have an understanding exactly of what this vertical V-crack means, but I do understand that oftentimes those can be structural, and oftentimes that can be heaving underneath the foundation, whether it be frozen water. And so we get a little apprehensive there, and we're going to suggest that a trained, qualified structural engineer come back to the property and take a look. I've seen electrical panels where the main service wires coming into the panel, they were actually clipped, and you'll see that a lot of those main service wires are multi-strand aluminum. For some reason, I assume it was the handyman who did the panel, clipped those wires and made them smaller so they would fit into a breaker that wasn't the correct size breaker for the panel. And at the end of the day, electricity works when that loop is closed. That doesn't mean it's being done correctly. That's a safety issue. That's a scary, scary safety issue. I'm always going to say a qualified electrical contractor, not just a qualified electrician. My uncle's a qualified electrician. My dad's a qualified electrician. I want an electrical contractor with the coverage behind them to do that job for my clients. Same thing on the roof, same thing with the air conditioner. We're going to give you areas to focus on and focus your efforts, making sure we're spending our time and our money in the correct places when we do make, whether it be improvements or just changes we want to make to the home.
That's smart, because a lot of times people think that, they're wanting me to talk to a structural engineer, we should just bail. Well, the structural engineer will actually know if this is a serious issue, or if this is perhaps something to monitor, or perhaps it's really just well within the scopes of normal.
Mm-hmm. And again, if you see those structural engineer, and that can be a disappointing thing, those could be disappointing words to see on an inspection report, and it may lead to at the time, what is perceived as a disappointing outcome. It's a positive outcome. You didn't purchase yourself a home with issues that are going to limit your ability to stay in that home safely. It is a positive thing. When I was purchasing my first house, we missed out on 2 or 3 that we were quite disappointed about. I can tell you, I'm in my dream home now. It's a small, about 1,500 square foot home, 2-bedroom. I love it. I'm so satisfied with the quote misses that we had in advance of this. Misses, they don't mean you lost.
No, exactly. In fact, you probably saved yourself a lot of aggravation. And a lot of times when there are those types of repairs that are required, they're there to make the home safer, but they may not add any value to the market. So you might have put in, $4,000 in electrical repairs, and you didn't improve the value of the home by $4,000.
No, you made it a purchasable home at the cost that it's supposed to be purchased at, and you made it a safe place to live. No, you're not adding value to the home from a financial standpoint, from safety, peace of mind, and that's things, the money well spent, the time well spent. Let's make sure that we focus our efforts in the right places.
Well, I want to make sure to give everyone an opportunity to connect with you, Michael, so that they could reach out. What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Oh, thanks, Kevin. The very best way to get in touch with us here at Creekside is www.creekside-home.com. And all of our other contact information, whether it be phone or email, is present on that page. creekside-home.com. Perfect place to be.
And if somebody wants to shoot you a text,
shoot me a text. I can be reached at 253-408-3444. And always welcome to text.
And I know you'll reply quickly. And then should somebody want to send you an email?
And then email, we're at inspection@creekside-home.com. Another quick response there.
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, Michael. I know we could have talked for another half hour. I really appreciate your time, especially here it is 6 days before Christmas. I hope you and your family and your little ones have a great time.
Absolutely, Kevin. Thank you again for including me in this conversation. I always love seeing you, my friend. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to your wife. I look forward to staying in touch.
I hope today's conversation helped you better understand what really matters when it comes to home inspections here in Tehaleh. If you're thinking about buying or selling and want guidance from someone who knows this community and lives here and can connect you with the right local experts, I'd be happy to help. You can call or text me directly at 253-648-0100 or use the links in the description below to get in touch. And if this episode was helpful, please be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future conversations with people who live here in Tehaleh, local professionals and individuals who just enjoy living in this great community.